Hello, everybody. This is Richie from the Metal Cell podcast. I'm delighted to welcome Joe from Gamma Bomb. Or Joe.
Hello, hello.
Flower, how are you, man? Flower's coming.
Oh, good, Richie.
Is over in London, and we have. I'm going to call you Casey. Is that all right?
Yeah, that's
you all
great.
have so many names, and you're actually over. What country are you in, Casey, at the moment?
I am Nepal right now.
You're in Nepal at the
I'm in
moment.
a small valley in Nepal called Pokhara. Namaste, everyone.
Cool. And so you have an interesting story, and I want to give a shout out to Sean from 10 Ton Slug, who put me in touch with Flower and Metal for Nepal. So we'll maybe go a bit backwards in time first of all, Flower, if you don't mind, and just fill us in on your background first, and then maybe Casey can help you along with it as well.
Sure. Thank you, Richie, and thank you, Sean, as well, for putting me in touch with you. It's like blowing your own trumpet, right? So you just don't even know where to begin from, right? So I'm Flower. I am the director for Metal for Nepal. It's just basically a non-profit initiative that we have started as a band. But then before I go into Metal for Nepal, I guess I have to go further back. So I manage on the side, so which Avishek is the vocalist, and we've been doing this for almost 9 years now. So it's a 10th year running, and so we just had a band, and we just wanted to have fun, play music, and be able to tour the world, I guess. And because of that, we get in touch with quite a few people. Why do I see Avishek's face so big on my screen? It's quite distracting, actually.
Don't look at my face then, man.
He's on Zoom.
I don't know. Okay, now it's all right. Yeah, I was like, that's too creepy to have his face right in front of me. It's like I'm giving in to you to Satan or something, man. But yeah, so I manage on the side, and also through the same.
When to grab my drink,
if you like. We do a metal festival in Nepal called Silence Festival, and we've been doing this for this is the 10th year of the festival, actually. So more or less, we're just a band, and we had a festival that we did in Nepal. The idea was to bring international artists over to Nepal, so that the local bands from Kathmandu or from Nepali metal scene would have an opportunity to showcase their music with some other artists they love. So that's what we were doing up until now. And recently, due to this pandemic, of course, the world has been quite a different place for everybody, and especially for a country like Nepal, the situation is pretty fucked up, to say the least. A lot of people are suffering, and so me, Avishek, we just kind of thought about how we could use our so to speak, like a platform that we've created over the last 10 years, and see if maybe we can use our music and then the platforms to do something good for the humanity. And so that's how the idea of Metal for Nepal came in play. And through this, it's basically trying to connect with all the artists that we've come to know over the past 10 years. And, trying to see if we can really make some differences in people's life. So that's what we're doing up until now. And Metal for Nepal is a ongoing project where the mission is not complete yet, so simply because the problem is ongoing, and there's still a lot more happening in Nepal. Does that kind of give you?
That's a nice overview.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Have you heard of Metal for Nepal, Joe, before?
Yeah, a friend of our singer Philly Burns, Alex Milas, is kind of friends with.
Oh wow! Yeah, he's a good friend.
I think you guys know each other pretty well, so he's kind of kept us in touch. Just basically, we've always had an interest in trying to play in different places, and we've always talked to Alex about it. And it was one of the things he mentioned was, "Oh yeah, there's this thing's been going on in Nepal for years." Because I know, outside of the metal scene, there's all going back to the 90s. There's been quite a history of rock music and stuff being involved in charitable things for Nepal and stuff. So really, really cool that you guys have been doing it for 10 years now, though, you know.
Amazing. Yeah.
And Avishek, as a singer of Underside, how did you get into metal?
How did I get into metal? Yeah, I think Kathmandu, that's the capital of Nepal. That's where the city I grew up. I think it has a rock and roll swing to the city, the whole city. It's like a tourist place. It's a place where the hippies came. And so it's like generally kids of my generation were more inclined towards that shit. Like, not like the kid. Now it's totally changed. It's fucked up. Now everything's like gone sideways. But in that time, you know, there were like a lot of stoners and like hippies all around, and that's where you see it. People with guitar, peace and love. You could still see the remnants of all that age going on when I was growing up. So, and we had like tons of bar going around, and you could hear. You were so connected to the live music.
Yeah.
And probably if you come to Kathmandu or Pokhara, even the city, it's a small, beautiful lake city. It's a very tourist place. You'll see bands playing Metallica, Megadeth, Iron Maiden, or like any old rock, or like The Doors, or whatever. Every night there are like 50 or 100 bands playing that music. So I think like a lot of kids, from our generation, people would naturally incline to. Everyone knows how to play a little bit of guitar. Everyone knows how to play. You know what I mean? So, and I just got in a little too deep, you know, like it's just like found my way. That was my thing. I loved music. I always loved singing. I remember I used to sing to my mom, and she used to ask me to sing. I used to sing like TV commercials and whatever I used to hear. Yeah. So I always loved doing that stuff. The voice, I like playing around with the voice. And then I kept on changing bands. He was also the manager for our old band called the Equals. That was before Underside. And we won this battle of band competition, like a movie kind of thing happened, and we got to go to London to play a gig, and then we lost. Like, wow. We were like all over the place. But yeah, he had just moved to England, London back then. He was there for 2 months, and we showed up, like that, one bedroom, and like 9 guys sleeping in one bedroom. And like,
that was a trip, yeah.
And we stayed there for like 2 months until our visas were. Yeah.
So many great bands came out of those Battle of the Bands. It's a great idea, isn't it?
Yeah. China One, dude, at that time. It was like glam metal band from China One, like glam rock band from China One, and we were so devastated. We were like, I can't fucking believe it. But it was okay. And yeah, and this just like kept on. I just kept on doing my thing. We've been friends, and he has been taking the band to places that we could have never gone without Flower, because he stays there, he works, and because it's very inaccessible for bands like us to get to that scene, for anyone to notice us. Like, why would they bother notice the same kind of music is playing by every band in England, or like anyone band next door? So, you know, until you have something exotic. But yeah, Flower is doing his part, and here we are.
Yeah, so it's great. I mean, Joe, he came out of Ireland as well when not many bands were coming out, really.
Yeah, I suppose. Like, I guess the whole Battle of the Bands thing can help bands a lot, but I'm not a massive believer in it just generally. That, you know, things like the Bloodstock Battle for the Bands, I think it's cool and stuff to get bands out there, but sometimes I think bands rely too much on those kind of competitions to get a leg up. Yeah. You know, this is how we're going to get to Bloodstock, you know, where it's a much better idea to go and play in front of 5 people, you know, in some little town somewhere, and do it that way, you know.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you, Flower, what's the kind of, every country has a different kind of government relationship with, you know, heavy metal. You know, when a band from Finland comes to play in Ireland, the Finnish government will contact the promoter and see if they can help. And, you know, at the other end of the spectrum, there's some governments that really don't support heavy metal at all, you know. So what's the situation in Nepal then?
Oh yeah, I think Avishek can tell you way more with his personal experiences about this than I can do. But more or less,
yeah, it's the same thing.
Right, more or less.
Very honest and blunt.
Yeah, we are not their favorite apple from the tree. That's for sure. You know, I think the society is pretty. unaware. It's not like they've seen it all and they hate you for what you are. I think they haven't explored you enough in that regard to make any sort of idea about what we are and whatnot. But on a basic level, I would say most of the the government administrations would see us as Newsians, and if anything, a very bad Western impact of the Western civilizations that is kind of ruining the society in a way. That's how it would be seen as. Even growing up, man, I would go to even when you go to your friend's house, and then even your friend's mom don't think good of you because you have a long hair. It's kind of completely ingrained in their head. Like they would be like, you don't hang out with him because he has long hair, right? Just simply because we've always been that guy for a lot of.
But imagine this, Joe. I get what you ask, and that's a beautiful thing. I see these French bands being supported by the government. Now that we've toured a little bit, and these Swiss guys, they have projects, and everyone's getting fundings and stuff. Here, it's I think it's way too primitive. You know what I mean? So imagine not very far long ago, 4 years ago, we were having 18 hours of power cut off in a day in the fucking capital. Can you believe that? And that was done. So that was done by a group of people selling the electricity to the companies and across the borders. That was the part of corruption. They kept the whole country in darkness for almost 5 years. And
5 years?
Dude, that was 5 years, yeah. So
18 hours a day.
So right now, in rainy season, it would be about 7-8 hours, which is normal. But in the dry season, we could go up to 18 hours.
Jesus.
So people who don't even have a choice to listen to a radio or a TV, how would they separate a genre of music like heavy metal? You know what I mean? Poverty, and it goes back to metal for Nepal. That kind of stuff is still very basic here. So when they see us, they freak out. Even in the villages, they will freak out. And in the cities, there's still the social stigmas are still there, and there is no fucking way. The only thing government would want to do when they see a metal show is to stop it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So does that mean
I've been taken out of stage? I've held bars, taken off by riot police. We've faced it, everything. Yeah.
So does that mean there was curfews imposed as well?
Yeah, they do. Oh my God, we grew up with curfews. So many curfews, dude. Because the civil war was going on. Even now it's a different curfew because of the pandemic. But they used to have all that. They used to cut your hair. If they see a guy with a hair in the middle of the street, they catch you and cut your hair. They generally used to assume you're a drug addict or you're someone, and they would protest not long ago. I'm telling you.
I was just going to say, when was that? How long was that continuing till?
Sorry.
How long did that continue till?
That continued forever, until a few years back. And then the one guy came and everyone loves him. He fixed the electricity problem in 1 month. We found out that they were selling the electricity to all the companies, making giant companies sucking it and people staying in dark. It was all bullshit, man. And like I said, and the cops, everyone is. But we wrote a song about that. There's a song called Wild. I don't know if you've seen the music video for that song. We have a song called Wild. It's about a politician, a monk, a policeman, and a local goon. So that is pretty much the story of Nepal. Yeah. That's how it works. Yeah.
And of course, there's a lot of cultures and ethnic groups as well.
There are a lot of beautiful stuff. Yeah, definitely. You would love it. But if you're asking about the government stuff, that's the truth.
Yeah. And what does it mean then, we'll say, for kids in Nepal now looking up to Underside to see your success? Do you think there's a lot of younger bands now coming through, trying to get out, push out of the scene and get themselves heard elsewhere?
Of course.
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah, I think because there was no one for us to. All the bands we looked up to were all the bands from all over the world. We never felt like it was. Because we didn't have anything anything being exported from the country, right? So yeah, to a certain extent, I believe we've achieved a little bit. We've broken out of the shell. It's tough. It still is, but yeah, I'm sure there are a lot of bands who can follow our path. And learn. That took us to learn 10 years. like a business. Like in UK, if a band goes out, you have to get a PR, you have to do this, a photo shoot, and you have to get a package out and ready your band stuff. For us, it took us like fucking, oh shit, you need to do that shit for like 8 years to figure that out. So now bands can try and understand that from us, like at least, if not get inspired by the music and all, but at least they can follow a way and do their own thing.
Yeah,
I think that's happening to a degree, though, right? Like, if you're in a scene and there's nothing to look forward to, nobody's gonna it kind of almost becomes like a hobby, And I think that's what was the scene like in Nepal for quite some time. People will form a band and they finish their A labels or whatever, and then the band will split and the new band will be formed, and it was just like a cycle of the same thing, and nobody kind of really saw this in the angle of like, oh, maybe you could break through, or you could do this full time and make this as a career. I don't think anybody kind of dared that kind of thing in Nepal.
We are a country that exports human workers, right? So we 55, almost 5 million of our youth, they work in the Gulf countries, in the mines and all that stuff, and a little bit of people who are privileged like us, to be honest, the middle class people who were able to get access to everything else. They all move out to either US, Europe or something, and there's really not many people left here, and no one actually gets, because they have to choose a way. So even I've seen such talented people and they just needed to break up because they had to go to college or whatever, and there you do it there and do the band as well, but there they split up and then they never find their groove or the right person, and that's how so many bands have broken up as well. That was
but I guess Bob, on that one, like I guess the point there where people were not willing to take such risk would be simply because they haven't seen anybody doing that, So I sincerely believe, like over the 10 years, at least when few bands are getting into the practice room in Kathmandu, I think they have that sense of that, like, direction, at least, that can be done, Whereas I think when we were doing, we're just like having fun, we didn't have like any sort of like, can you really do that sort of thing, But it has happened, and even with the Silence Festival, every time, you get to see this overwhelming number of bands coming out from the scene, requesting to be part of the festival. So it has happened, it's just like a natural thing to happen, I guess, to have some influences over a new band.
And you get to see bands, and that makes such a big difference when you get to see bands. Like the first band I got to see was when I was 21, and that was Slayer. Would you remember, in England? That was my first ever show, really watching a band that I loved.
Go to a Slayer show, cool.
Yeah, that was our first ever show, actually.
Small, fucking awesome show with like 1,000 people or something, and like, dude, it was insane. And imagine, I had never seen these bands, but I read all the interviews, seen all the I know everything about them, like what kind of food they love or what kind of everything. I like worship all, but I've never gotten to see them, Silence Festival, like we are bringing, I think that will give them a big inspiration, kids, to be able to see that live and be like, for me, that was a big breakthrough. I love these bands like Tool or Slipknot. The only time I got to see them was in Download last year when I was playing. I had never seen them before, because there's no way in hell I could afford to go see them somewhere else, or they would ever come into my region.
Where would the closest place be then, Cassie? If you guys were at home, like
Japan,
Iron Maiden would play in
India, or never?
Iron Maiden, they came to India, but still, it would cost you quite a bunch of money. You don't want to go alone. You need at least a friend to go there.
Yeah.
And you have to get flights, a few $100s. You have to go stay. It's going to cost you easily $700-800 to do the whole thing, and like the whole per capita income is $1,000.
I was going to say, is it basically for a lot of bands and fans there? It's cheaper to come to the west than it would be to go east. Like, to say, if you want to go to see bands in Australia or Japan or some other place like that,
So did you mean for the bands or for the people?
For either, because it seems to be like a lot of countries, what happens is it's only the kind of some middle class luckier people who are able to go and see bands, because they never come anywhere nearby. So
it's more or less the same, right?
Yeah, it is. I went to see Metallica once, Metallica came to Delhi, so I was like, I'm a big Metallica fan, and like I was like, fuck yeah, Metallica, this is the closest they're gonna come. It was like a big festival. I took my sister with me because it's one of those festivals where it's a brother and sister thing that I'm like, we gotta go to a Metallica show this year for the festival. So we went there, and the gig got fucking cancelled, man, because like security reasons, Metallica did not come out, and I don't blame them. Like, they oversold the place. Fucking people in Delhi. They oversold the place by 10,000 tickets or something.
Jesus.
That's kind of shit that I was so pissed. And I saw Metallica for the first time in 2019 last year.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, we have a festival here in Limerick called the Siege of Limerick, okay? And it promotes and gets in loads of people to the town. Limerick is a city, yeah, but basically there's a lot of people come in that wouldn't normally visit Limerick, and there's a great vibe over, we'll say, 2 days. I'd imagine with the Silence Festival, you can use that to kind of promote art and tourism as well.
Oh, absolutely, man. That's one of the things, at least it has been in our head when we talk about Silence, because it does, promotes just like tourism in Nepal, not just be in Kathmandu but beyond, right? Like, was it? Correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't it like Textures when they played? They finished the show, and then the vocalist or somebody came with the family, and they went up in the mountains for the trekking or something, right?
Yeah, Textures,
Right, yeah. So
yeah,
see,
the singer's whole family came down.
Yeah. So
So there's that benefit to it as well, that like you can actually say, listen, we are actually bringing people in, and why don't we get more funding for it,
I tried to do that this year. Remember? I tried to
did that
tourism board this year. I went for meetings. I met the government people. This was the first time. So there is a organization called Nepal Tourism Board.
Okay.
Their main thing is to bring in tourists, and I went and I talked and I did the whole prospect. I did the presentation and everything, and they seemed pretty keen on it. But like when it came to money, they were like, "Oh, I think we can do it next year, and this year we can give you like a flyer space somewhere up there, like a billboard." And they're like, "Okay, give the billboard."
Oh my God, that's so hard, lads.
The thing was it maybe 2016, 17, or even later, but one of my friends got in touch with me and said like, oh, in Nepal now you can actually email directly to the minister, and I'm like, really? And he was like, yeah, you can talk to this tourism minister. Apparently he's very young and very dynamic, and then he wants to like listen to the people. So I was like, I think I've got a couple of things to ask him, right? So I was like, I'm gonna write to him. So I wrote a long ass letter to him explaining exactly the thing you mentioned, Rich, about like it's not just we want to have fun with this music, but it kind of has more implications. It can bring a very different breed of people to Nepal who may not necessarily be interested in Nepal if it wasn't for the band they love to see, and the point of like the band in themselves staying there and all the rest of it. Nobody got back to me, right? But then
died in the helicopter.
And then sadly, the minister apparently died in a helicopter crash recently as well. Rest in peace.
Yeah.
But but I wasn't expecting much of a response anyway. But I was like, oh, let me give it a try. If somebody's saying I have an email address, you can get in touch. It hasn't happened. And in terms of when you're saying about maybe they can help, at times like the problem with the administrations would be so intense, like we would be lucky if we had no police interventions in the festival, because most of the time they will just walk in like literally like goons, walk in, shut this down. In 5 minutes they will shut down the whole festival, and they will literally be you physically push you. Like I think, wasn't it 12 Foot Ninja who got physically pushed out of the stage while they were playing the show as well, right?
Jesus.
So Ninja and Behemoth also, Behemoth, they had to like cut short. I'm like pretty much, I remember when Textures were playing, me and another guy, bass player from this another band, we were holding the barricade for the sound guy, and the cop was kicking it in, trying to get to the sound, like, shut it, like, Bandavar. That means like, stop it. shut the fucking sound. And he had already turned it off. The guy was so scared. Everyone would be. Sound engineer, Texas, he turned it off. But the monitor, the stage sound was still on. So you thought he was still on. So he was still kicking out like, it's ours. We're like, call it. Yeah, shit like that happens.
Jesus, that's insane, Joe, isn't it?
For us,
last year was the first time nothing happened.
Last year was Testament, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You have a lovely story, Avishek, there that your drummer couldn't play and someone stepped in. Is that true?
That is true.
Okay. Tell the story to the listeners. I'd rather hear it from you.
So it's festival we're organizing, we're playing, and my drummer, he lives in North India. And there was a civil unrest going there. There was intense curfew, and there were like people were shot, and it was crazy fires. And he was trying nonstop to come there, so to arrive in Kathmandu for like the last few days. So all the flights were getting canceled, all the ways to get in were getting canceled, and then we were still trying till the morning of the festival. So it was like, we don't need to practice, we'll just jump on and play. It's Testament. We got to play. It's our festival. We have to at least do this. We hadn't played home in a while. We had released and we had saved this up for the festival. So we thought we could sell more tickets because our fan would be like, okay, we're going to see them in the festival as well. And there was like, shit, this plan is failing. And he's not going to make it. We already knew it. And then this guy there, so they were talking. So he was sitting with the team and he was like, shit. And one of the drum tech was like, it's sad these dudes can't play, it sucks. And like, then the man goes like, yeah, I can play, right? Flower, you know the story.
Yeah, that was pretty true.
He was actually then he calls me up and like, all right, Genie's gonna play the song, play, send me the song. I'm like, what? It's late in the night and he's like, Gene fucking Oakland is gonna play.
Hey, wow, cool.
And then like, the song, I'm like, I'm out, man, I don't have the songs, so like, get the songs. And so we call everyone, send it, and by that time, Genie's already asleep. So you get the songs in the morning. So and apparently on the day of the show, apparently he sleeps, and he was like, "How many songs do you want to do?" And we're like, "I think we can do 4." No, we can do all 8. So I think we're good with 4. Since we have like 2 hours to go. So he's just listening to them, and he's like, and we just sat down. I have a video of that somewhere where we're just going like, that was the only practice we had in the jam room before going on stage. And we just went on and played with Gene fucking Hogan, man. Yeah, and that was cool.
And that's a measure of the man that he'd be prepared to do that. Fuck.
Yeah, he's a fucking sweet. He was
so
a nice guy. He didn't talk much, and I was like, yeah. And he came in at the last, but it was insanely kind of him to do that for come and step in.
Incredible. So you kind of just touched on it. What are the main challenges for running a festival like Silence Festival? Like, obviously you have a budget, and then, when you get in, say, bigger bands like Behemoth and Cancer Bats as well, does that budget get pushed out more? Or?
Definitely.
Yeah, it depends, right? So mostly from an organizer perspective, right? Either you have a lot of investment, so you can pick a band and buy the band based on their rates with their agents and whatnot. And sadly we don't fall on that one. So well, our approach has always been about, because of on the side as well. One of the things that has worked in our favor is because we get to meet a lot of people from the industries, bands and artists, and it feels like yesterday, but it's been almost 10 years now, and in 10 years, looking back, we feel like we've kind of got to know quite a few number of people, especially with the music and bands and stuff like that. So we try and keep it within our reach, like instead of going really big, if I know, and I'll tell a friend and he will tell another friend, and what it does, in my experience, has been it draws a very organic kind of band as well. The band would just want to go and play for X amount of fee, probably wouldn't be as much as interested as, what Joe was saying earlier. Somebody would be like, oh, metal festival in Nepal, oh fuck, that sounds interesting already, right? And then when they come to me, I think the the fee, the logistics of it almost becomes secondary, if you know what I mean. Like, because their desire to play in Nepal is so intense. So some people, like some of the time, like for example, dudes from Kansbat, absolutely amazing people, and they were just so stoked to be playing in Kathmandu. They were just like, we don't care, we just want to come and play. So that kind of goes hand in hand with our approach, which helps us to not be so extra spending kind of festival. And the other reason where we have to be also very mindful in Nepal is the kids who go to watch our like festivals, most of them like they don't work, so they all are into colleges or they're studying students and stuff like that. So we can't move, you know, like for example, if I were to bring Metallica for next editions, it doesn't make sense for us to be like, okay, no, we're going to pay so much more to Metallica, so we're going to, you know, double the ticket price or something like that, because it has to be almost like we know what not to push, you know, what is the limit, because it doesn't make sense for us to have ticket price so high that the kids cannot go to the show. It kind of almost undermines the whole reason why we're doing it in the first place, right? So that's where it kind of it is like kind of a very tricky situations, you know. I would love to have more bigger bands. Sometimes we get a lot of requests from the fans in Nepal saying, like, oh, why don't you get this band and that band? But they don't understand the implications, you know. So far for us, the biggest challenge has been, of course, dealing with the government, you know, the system. So it is kind of slowly changing. So I hope it continues to be the same. The second factor would be, of course, financial side of it. So even in neighboring India, you know, you get to see a lot of sponsorship for a metal festival.
Yeah.
Even that is like dying out. I think like even India is suffering. Yeah, two sides to it.
But we are basically worse than India in sponsorship as well, aren't we?
True.
Like we hardly get any sponsors, so that kind of puts in a difficult situations. Then we also have to consider the people who are our audience, right? And they, I know for a fact, like there are certain things that, you know, we can't push more further than that. So it's a mix of everything. So it's have to like really carefully calculate the whole thing to make it a success. So you know,
it doesn't matter like how carefully you calculate it, it's still not gonna work.
Yeah, I was coming to that.
Flower faces challenges on his side, and we face like our challenges on our side, because like there's two sides to this thing. He has to work from there, we have to work from here. So it's really hard.
Is there any advantage to, you know, in India you start seeing more bands coming to India? Mm-hmm. Like, is it easy to bring a band from India to Nepal, or is there a thing where, you know, because I know that sometimes governments are less willing to give a visa to somebody if they're coming from a neighboring country, right?
It's not like that for us. We have done that in past, actually. We did share 12 Foot Ninja with our friends in India and stuff like that. But you see, the problem, what happens is it's also about the date. You know, like here, you know, I can go to, I don't know, Underworld Camden, and Cancer Bats are playing Tuesday night, whatever, and it's still sold out, right? Like, it doesn't matter the day. Whereas in Nepal, you know, if I put the same festival on, I don't know, weekdays, like it's not practical at all. So it has to be the Saturday. And then sometimes even when we try and share artists with India, they share pretty much the same sort of belief, saying that we need the proper date, right? So they want to have it on Saturday as well. So it kind of conflicts that. But, you know, going back to what I was saying earlier, although all of this has happened in the last 10 years, we've dragged it one way or the other. It has never been about making profit, or we've never seen it as a business. And as a matter of fact, like even if we were to see it as a business, we haven't made one single penny out of the festivals. If anything, every year we lose money religiously. Like I think our conversation is, how much did we lose this time? You know, so our battle is to kind of minimize the thing. Yeah. So it is just purely because, you see, one of the things that has happened for us with the blessing of how things have turned out to be for Underside is to get to see the world outside, right? We get to see the bands, we get to see all that, and sometimes it feels like almost, at least for me, from where I stand, like when I send the bands like Underside back home, what they've seen out just stays with them, you know what I mean? And then they're not going to hang out with every little band in Kathmandu, right? So, and I kind of feel like they need to see that, right? So the only glimpse I can perhaps like if there's other bands in Nepal, is to do a festival where you invite these bands over. And sometimes, and I'm pretty confident, like most of the bands who played our festival, pretty much every band is super rad. Every band is pretty decent in their own way. So when they go and the kids see them playing, I think it inspires them in a way.
What is the capacity of it, Flower, and how much do you charge per person through the door?
It depends, right? We always have this hit and miss game about like what is the capacity of the metal scene. Forget about the festival. We say like, well, how big is our scene? And that's
we always fight over it.
We fight over it so much. You have no idea, because it's so hard, right? Because
the ticket price as well.
Yeah.
Even with
so,
ticket
for
price,
example, just so people will know, we'll say take Testament now. Last year, they were probably the biggest band you've ever got in.
Yeah.
How much was the ticket price, and how many people roughly?
I think it was about £15.
£15. Okay, to see.
Yeah, for the festival, and there were about 1,800 people, I guess.
Oh, it's not that big then.
It's not that big. The capacity we have more people fit in, and there were 2 stages, and we had bands from 7 countries.
I think so. Yeah,
it's a bargain. You know what I mean? It is, and we had 2 stages, and almost 12 bands.
See it from this point of view, right? Because last year we had one of journalists from The Guardian, and who wanted to see, how we, what's like in Nepal and whatnot. And later on, when I had a chat with him, something, what he said, well, I thought was pretty interesting. He was like, Flower, it's so cool because, it's like 2 stages are so close within one close proximity. And then you finish one show, you literally walk 2 minutes and then you see another band, and then that kind of fluidity does not happen when you are in download. Because, and I was like thinking my experience in download last year, and like you are exhausted most of the time, right? Like it's so massive, and there's like a lot going on, whereas in silence it's almost like going into a cinema. You walk in, you sit down, movie is on, and then you only walk out when the movie is over, and it's like pretty intense. So,
you watch everything. You watch all the bands,
and you watch every band. That's the thing about Nepal, right? Even for me, like when I go there, I'm like, this is fun. It kind of, it's not even it forces you to do so, but it just the vibe kind of makes you feel like that's all that's happening around you, right? And it's a one day of music festival, so people like to kind of come and chill. But again, the debate about how big Nepali metal scene is. This is the thing we try. We sometimes when we pick the headliners, we try that, and sometimes, but of course, I don't want to disclose the name of the band, but then he has his own theory where Avishek thinks if we were to book that X band, he thinks there's going to be 10,000 people.
Not 10. I didn't say 10. I said 5.
5. Okay. All right. Okay. So it's negotiating now, right? Like, but
all right.
So yeah, we've got this.
I never said 10. My guesses are usually right, guys.
So, yeah. So the only way to find out is to bring more bands in and then see, like, okay, how many people are turning up. So,
but the area then, so if we'll go with that theory that you'll get in a bigger band, can you expand the stage? Have you got that room in that? It's like a town square, really, is it?
Right.
You can get in more capacity?
It's private.
We need to change the venue, but you see the other thing also, I'll kind of try and do it like fast. So what has happened, right? So last couple of years back, government brought this new bill apparently where you're not supposed to advertise anything to do with the alcohol and tobacco or something like that, right?
Pretty much, we can't use any public venues. Metal shows can't.
So because what they were saying. Right. So our sponsors was it Tuborg and some vodka, right?
Yeah, vodka.
So of course, like they are the only 2 prime sponsors, and then you're doing show in a public place, and then they are not supposed to put their banners on or they advertise their brand at all. So it doesn't work like that, right? So just to work around it, this year the one you saw, Rich, that was done at a car park of a private property, basically. So we literally put a festival in a car park last year to go around the government, but they still have the sponsors on board,
Yeah.
So in answer to your questions of if you were to get a bigger band, there are a lot of bigger venues. Like, of course, we can go and change, venue depending on the bands, and of course, if the sponsors are still willing to. So
we did look into it as well.
Yeah, Joe, you've played loads of festivals. Would something like Nepal appeal to you?
Yeah, I think that it's always kind of difficult to tell how much of an audience there is for something like newer thrash bands and stuff like that. In a country where they haven't seen a lot of the classic bands, and that's the kind of thing. It's probably always going to be easier to get a band like us or Warbringer to kind of come over than it is to bring Overkill or someone, because a lot of older bands, they've been around the block and they don't have as much, as you said, cancer bats. They just want to go and see the place and have a bit of an adventure. Yeah. So I think it is easier with younger bands, but as I said, that's the crossover where it's more difficult to tell what's the draw gonna be for a younger band compared to a more established name.
True.
I think that's such a good point, Joe. Because we always talk as well. Sometimes it's very difficult to guess what would sell good in Nepal. Like bands who are necessarily pretty decent here, we may not bring any crowd whatsoever in Nepal. And that's something also we find super challenging when we're trying to book the bands. Especially for the headliners. Because they would sometimes hear the agent would be like, "Oh, I'm gonna tell you about this band because I know these bands are pretty decent and they are doing pretty well and well established here in the West." And then we find it difficult to make them understand. But in Nepal, like there's literally no following for that band in some regards as well. So.
But I can tell you this, Joe. Though, like if you guys, I hope you guys do, and like when you do, and if you do. When you come and start playing and like when you do your shit, people will lose it. The kids will lose it. They won't be waiting around for it. That is for sure. There are no rules. There are nothing that holds them back. It's not like they won't be waiting for the headliner. Whoever gets to them early, these kids fucking lose their shit and they'll go fucking crazy. And the bands will like feel like home. I think that's part about Nepal. Even if like 100 people might have. Only 100 people might know your music in 1,500, but if you're doing the right thing, if you're playing right, it'll be a massacre. It'll be awesome. That's for sure.
Yeah. In 2015, an earthquake hit Nepal. 10,000 people died and 22,000 people were injured, and crucially 100,000 lost their homes. Where were you when that happened, lads?
Both of us were in England actually. Like the day when we were in my previous apartment, we were just. I think it was just you and me, right, Avishek?
Yeah. Well, I stayed back because we had finished the show. It was like 2 days back. All of the band left, and I was just staying back with them to hang for a week.
Oh yeah.
And we were so hungover that night. We had partied somewhere, and like I was sleeping on this couch, obviously.
Yeah.
And then my girlfriend called me. It was like super early, and it was like 5 in the morning or something here in UK. And she starts screaming and crying and yelling, and I couldn't make any sense of it. And then the line cuts off for like an hour or something. And then I try calling everyone, and there's no one we can contact. And then we see the news, and that there's a massive earthquake. And yeah, dude, we freaked out for a while. Then I woke them up, and it was just him and one of our other friends, Sujan, who also works in Silence, the festival, part of the team. And like, yeah, it was I think it was a different experience being away from home. If you were there and you felt it and you survived it, you'd have a sense of relief, or be like, oh God, I made it. For us, it was like, we don't know what the fuck is happening out there.
Yeah.
Someone's saying something, or like, is my mom alive? Is my dad alive? Is my birth? You have no idea what is going on. So yeah, we were like kind of in that couch for 24 hours at least, just like sitting and trying to think of everyone we love and care about. Yeah, it was tough.
So what
that
did you,
morning was pretty scary.
You did something then. You decided to head down to where was it? What part of London?
Trafalgar
Oh,
Square.
we went to Trafalgar Square. Yeah, that was just a random thing. Like we were just like, what you want to? I think that's where, if you really think about it, Abhishek, that's where I think we figured maybe
That's
what we're
start,
doing can be used in something else than just pursuing our own dreams of trying to play music, right? Because I think we figured.
Or something, right? We took a guitar,
Right, yeah.
we went to the Arrow Center, and then we were like, "Fuck this! We're not going to sit in this couch anymore." Whatever
We went
do,
to, yeah, we did
started a
some-
small petition on Facebook. We just
And people-
put up that status, and we left for Trafalgar Square. That's the last.
I think that's how the whole thing started, because I was just saying, like, we have, like, I don't know, 20, 30,000, whatever followers then. I was saying, even if one person of people does that, there would be something, and let's see, if people would like that, because we weren't sure if people would like the idea of, like, oh, you're a metal band, what are you talking about, sort of thing as well, and we were just, okay, let's just see, even if 1% people comes up, that would be great.
I think it might have just got lost in translation there. You decided to go busking, correct?
Yeah. We just decided to go and like ask people, like, raise money, and we just got out of the house. We were tired of sitting in, and we just like put up a status on Facebook saying we'll be raising funds for whatever we can do from our side, like for the victims there. Like, because the later within 24 hours we got so much news, like this happened, so many dead, this is destroyed, this has gone down, people are getting fucked up and all that stuff, and we're tired of that, and we sort of went out of our space, and like, yeah, I think there was a picture of us standing with this sign and like just sitting down and jamming on the guitar in the Trafalgar Square.
Yeah.
Remember? Oh, yeah, that was pretty weird. And then we had like a bucket or something. We were sitting
We
with a
literally
bucket.
bust just on the street trying to collect a few bucks, because I was like thinking whatever you can,
whatever we can.
So
We
how
did
much?
manage to raise like $8,000 or something in like 10 days or a week.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was, and immediately we sent all that. Even before I reached to Nepal, our guys were already going into villages affected with food packages and everything. They'd already started working because everyone was living in that parking lot where Silent Sad Festival happened last year,
Oh, wow, yeah.
and they were staying there on tents. And so they were distributing rations and everything, and they're packing up there because it's a friend's place. So from there, they were going to places, and we're just sending them the money, whatever was coming in. And after like almost when the airport opened, I ran back home, and obviously Flower had his work and everything. And then
the money raised, it helped build a school as well. Is that correct? Yeah.
Oh no, we helped a school that was being built. We sent the money.
Yeah.
That was from the last show. That's
Okay.
from the show. But we helped 306 families rebuild their houses with the money raised from Metal for Nepal.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah, and when I went back after 4 years, they were still using the same sheets, the same roof of the house, because the government has promised them to give something to make the house, right? So we had given them the roof part of it,
Yeah.
the CGI sheets and the building equipment. The government was supposed to give them the rest of it. They still had not received the second payment on it in 4 years, and they was just building on it using the same sheets. They
Fucking hell.
still kept it. I was like, yeah, wow.
And did other bands that from around the world help your cause as well?
Oh yeah, like so many bands played Metal for Nepal. I don't even remember. I think it happened everywhere: U.S., Boston, UK. It was like an open platform. Anyone could do a show and call it Metal for Nepal and just like send the money to the charity. So it was a really cool movement. It was started by this guy called Randy. Actually, he thought of the thing Metal for Nepal. They were doing the fundraiser, and he was like, "We need to help." He's a very good friend, and we toured with them. They're the Voice of Ruin in the past.
Okay.
So props to those guys.
So we'll say metal takes a very different shape and definition in Nepal by the sounds of it. Like you're taking metal beyond the kind of norm of the heavy metal, long hair, tattoos and stuff like that. Where do you think you can actually bring it as a band? First of all, you're promoting yourselves, but you're also promoting a region that desperately needs aid, I suppose, first of all. Whatever about the metal community in there, but how far can you bring this, guys, do you think?
I think that is a big question. To be honest, yeah, I think we never saw, like, to me personally, I was the kid in the classroom listening to that band, and I was playing with those band last year on the same festival that I'd never dreamt of. since we brought it that far, I think we can take it further, to be honest. If we can, from a place like that, growing up with the way like we grew up, and I never truly believed, and like so many amazing things happened, and have happened, then I'm grateful for like a band being announced in Download is not a big deal for a band from that region. For when we were announced, people here were like celebrating it like a fucking festival, man. It was like, fuck yeah. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of spirit. And I know it's funny. It's in so many ways like, why are you guys so happy, stoked about your place? Dude, we have to be. We can't believe like this shit is happening to us. Just we've brought it this far. And if we're talking, if you're here, if I'm here right now, I think we can take it as far as we push it.
Yeah,
to be honest,
that's cool.
I do ask myself sometimes that, right? Like, is it like how far, and how impactful is this all gonna be? Like, it's like because I think we're still young, right? Like we don't have kids, we are not married, and we don't have significant responsibilities. Most of the average people in this world would have, and in a way, so you could say we are pretty purposeless kind of human beings, so it kind of sometimes I feel like if you take this off your equations, then you would be left with unknown, right? Like what you would be left with sort of feelings. But then you see, like for a country like Nepal, it's not even about how far you want to go. It's about every life that you would be touched through this project. It would be so significant, you know what I mean? So for me, as long as we can stay relevant, as long as we have the energy and the passion to do it, we want it to go however long it takes. So of course, like the fire perhaps like has simmered down a bit over the years, because of course we are still not 23 anymore. But when we started, like Avishek said, this was never a plan. It was just a wild, like when you hang out with your friends, you just imagine you're hanging out with Spider-Man, for example, like those sort of like just a random imagination is what we are living, with the band and with the festival. So I see it can grow really far, because the idea was to make Kathmandu this new heavy metal capital of the world, like we've thought, like, why can't it be like 60s, like why can't it be like, oh, I want to go to Kathmandu, not this time to just hang out and smoke some pot, but this time to go and check out some heavy metal bands, I just hope one day, I don't know, bands like Metallica will pick on that, and I don't know, they might find it, what, playing Kathmandu before we retire sounds like probably a good idea. Something like that would happen, I don't know, because
on that map,
something like that. That's just my gut feeling, right? Something major is going to happen, because from just a festival perspective, I don't think we would ever be able to host band of Metallica in Nepal. Let's just be honest, right? But I still do believe in miracles sometimes, So I have a feeling something mad, like something that's going to happen, and perhaps it's going to probably, open us into a new paradigm. I don't know, but we're not here for just today. We're gonna be here for however long it takes, really.
Joe, what do you think?
I'm gonna ask you guys: is there like a lineage of this kind of thing in Kathmandu? Like, was there any rock bands who ever came there in the 70s or anything, or did you guys have any homegrown kind of rock music? Like, nothing at all.
We had
about the Jimi Hendrix, Bob.
Yeah, that's the favorite story. So we have a story like that. Jimi Hendrix came in the 60s, and he wrote Purple Haze when he was smoking Purple Haze up in Mustang. And there's a hotel, dude, you gotta believe me. And we've been there, right? Yeah. We went there. So this is like a big story. So like Purple Haze grows naturally in Nepal. So like we're really good with weed. All right, this country is really good with making good weed and like alcohol. And like, yeah. So apparently Jimmy was there smoking in Freak Street. In Kathmandu, we have a place called Freak Street where it's all about smoking and like hanging out where they used to sell marijuana, openly, black hash, all that stuff. And so he went with a couple of porters and went off to Mustang and stayed there. And that's apparently where he smoked Purple Haze. That's where you actually get it, the natural ending. He smoked, he wrote the song. And there's a hotel that was like people visit. That's like Jimmy was here, and since 1969. So either this dude fooled everyone like really nicely, or like
Joe, we now know where we're going to stay, man.
And there's another guy called Jimmy. So he's the porter, all right? So he goes around every bar, dancing every night. He's like this dude who's like 70 years old, who's like moving and dancing at every club every night. So he's like moshing alone, dancing to every song, and his name is Jimmy. So they call him Jimmy because everyone knows that he claims that he was the one who ported Jimi Hendrix's.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, when
Only God knows.
When we were growing up, there was always lots of stories about how crazy good the hash was over in the Himalayas, and
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
we heard all the what was it? They kind of didn't have special balls or something that they used to make it in, kind of temple
Some
balls.
temple ball or something.
Temple
no?
balls, yeah.
The ones,
Yeah, we
Joe,
are like
Joe, your knowledge never ceases to amaze me.
One thing I know a lot about is weed.
Cool. We'll make sure when you come to Nepal, we make
We're
sure.
going to, yeah.
Yeah,
The first
I
thing we
like
had,
I like the sound of that hotel, Joe. I think that's the one, man.
Good stuff.
And also, more importantly, as well as a band, how difficult is it to get good equipment out there? How do you get your equipment? Do you have to import it in, or if you're even a young band coming through, what kind of equipment can a young band get? Is it all second hand or?
It's no, you have stores, but it's like very middle range stuff. So like when I owned my first guitar, it was a Ibanez GIO model that cost around $200, and that was a neck breaker for me. That was way overpriced to be ever owning. If you own a guitar that's not made in India or China, you're like a serious musician. That's what it was like when I was back then. It was like, dude, you're investing so much money on a guitar. So yeah, now you have quite a few stores that you can order stuff from. The internet is there, so you can ask that dealer. We still don't have the access to order stuff from Sweetwaters. We don't even have Spotify. We don't have Spotify in the region. That's why our Spotify ranking as a solo, it's all YouTube and stuff and Facebook. So because the credit card thing doesn't work from Nepal, you can't trade with other countries still. So yeah, you have this guy who has an account somewhere. So now you can manage it if you want it, if you have the money for it. But usually kids, they all go for the middle range stuff, the very starter stuff, like $200-300 guitars, a few $100 drum kit. That's also if you're like super serious. Otherwise, you buy cheap stuff like Chinese or rip off Indian stuff just for like a few grand.
So when you go on
but
tour,
you do have the access to it if you really want it, and you have some.
but when you go on tour, how difficult is it? You know, I presume you go to, you know, we'll say if you're in Australia or if you're in America, Avishek, you have to hit some music shops, and then what's the temptation like?
Yeah, we do. Yeah, there is, man. Oh my God, like my guitar player is insane, and our sound guy is a geek, so he's like this, that, and like, well, obviously, like no one, like my guitar player, he can buy shit, but like the rest of us, we can't fucking afford any of that. So we carry everything from home, and the only thing we're not allowed to carry are our clothes. So we have like a limited amount of merch because we can't. The cargo charges on the plane are so high when you travel from Nepal to like when you fly towards Gulf, or when you cross that, we have to cross the Gulf to come to any part of the West. It's super expensive. It's like $10 a kilo. So we get like 30 kilos. So we have to fit all our equipment, all our merch in that space. So what you don't get to bring is the personal stuff. So just like 5 underwears and like 2 t-shirts and 1 jeans. That's it for like a month. But yeah, when we go there, it's pretty exciting. But we manage. We're more than happy to be able to do that.
Jesus, that's another side of it as well, Joe. You know, bringing the merch.
Side of touring.
Yeah, you don't have that problem, Jody, in relation.
You know what? We found that the further away from home you go in terms of merchandise and stuff, the best thing usually to do is to try and get it printed, you know, over there and stuff. When anytime we've been to South America or something, we always try and get someone locally to make it, because basically the problem is that the price that it costs to produce it, you know, in UK or euros or anything like that, is so much above what people are making. So it's too expensive. Whereas if we get the t-shirts made in Brazil, it's around the same price that people can afford to pay for them, you know. So.
Yeah. I know. Yeah, like I said, it took us forever to learn all that kind of stuff. So we're still carrying merch with a bag of merch. The first time when we went to London, I had like a bag. I looked like a beggar. I was like grabbing trash, remember, and trying to get it through the tunnels of London, like through the subway. So we had like 100 or some t-shirts in a bag, and I was like, so it's cheap to print it in Nepal, and so we make more money that way either. But like now we've really realized that we need to start doing stuff. So like even these Metal from Nepal t-shirts, they are printed in UK now. Like I said, it's all learning, but like there was no one. Like you told us now, like, so similarly, just like you, someone told us, dude, you guys are doing something fucking stupid. You can just print it here. You know what I mean? Like, so otherwise,
it's that way every band, you know, the first few tours you ever do, you know, is this last year, was it the first time that you guys had been to Europe? Yeah.
Not really, but like, I think this year was like super seriously what we toured, like a lot of shows.
Last year was the prime for sure, wasn't it?
Prime, yeah.
Yeah, you played Bloodstock in 2018.
Yeah. We did a few tours. We did Europe with Voice of Void in 2015. We've been touring for a while, but like not this intensely until last year.
Yeah.
So last year was the one where we toured with Cancer Bass, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Right. So we did the UK tour, and then we played Download.
Europe, and then we did UK.
We did the Europe tour
again. We did Europe twice with Betraying the Martyrs and Cancer Bats. So. Yeah.
So, yeah, you could say this is the most. Last year was the most prime time for Undesign.
Yeah, dude.
And what about new material? Avishek, are you working on new material?
We had to be honest, we got this year was supposed to be the big year. We toured so much last year, and we had Japan. We already booked for Hammer Sonic with Slipknot and Trivium and everyone already. And we had China, we had Thailand. We were doing the Asian thing, and then we're supposed to do the album launch, do the festival. Everything is written, everything is recorded. But just for us, a band like us, we release an album now and it just disappears, and then we don't get to tour it in the middle of this. It didn't make sense. And like we just had like tiny bit of work, just the ethnic instruments and some samplings that we were doing, like some chant incantations and something that I was recording with monks and stuff that was left. But like pretty much everything was done. We had already mixed and mastered 2 of the songs and released it as singles. We were supposed to release a follow-up now, but I think we sort of lost our way, got lost in the whole pandemic, and it hit us pretty hard, man. And like we didn't know what to do. Everything got canceled, and it's not like we won't get to have the momentum that took us 5 years, 6, 7 years to get this momentum. We won't get it again. We want to do it right. Like it's very tough for us, so we thought we would do what we can do right now, and we went back to work. We have the music, it's ready, and like we're just waiting for the right time to release it. We just don't feel like this is the right time to release now for us, especially.
Yeah, and thousands of other bands. It's fucking.
Yeah, exactly. I think so.
Yeah, you're releasing it into, as I like saying, a void. Just a void where you can't do anything. You can't back it up. So just hold on to it, I suppose. A lot of bands. Yeah, a lot of bands are just holding on to it.
How long is it going to last? So.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
You're going to Joe. You're going to release material this week, isn't it?
Well, we have a single out on Wednesday, and then an album in December. But it's a weird one because it's very easy to get lost in the run. But then we're also kind of thinking, because so many of the festivals are booked up for next summer, and because so many bands bigger bands are recording, at the moment, we're thinking that next year is going to be really busy anyway. So we're thinking it's a better time, maybe later on this year, to have an album out than to leave it and wait. Because for all we know, certainly there's some countries that are going to recover from it a lot quicker than others. But realistically, for a band, for even festivals, if America is still closed down, or maybe Germany, it means that a lot of these bands that come to make the festivals happen won't be able to play, So, and that's the kind of issue that a lot of festivals will have to look at is, can they do the festival with no American bands, or is it is it financially viable for a band to come to Europe but not to play in Germany or not to play in some other country that's still in lockdown, you know?
Yeah.
So we don't know. It's just it's a hard kind of station, but you know, our record company want us to make another album next year. So I think the idea is we'll bring a record out in December and then have another one out the next December to be, you know, kind of ready to go back on tour when we can.
Oh, that's cool, man.
But I don't know.
Sounds good.
We are just we've not even been able to, now that we start even working with Metal for Nepal, we've not even been able to get there completely mentally as well. You know, we're all been focused on something completely different, and like we're all on our survival instincts right now. It's very basic, you know, like save your mom, save your dad, and like it can like ration your foods, and you know, just see your neighbors, like you can see people dying. So it's like very basic, and like I have been getting some ideas. I've been talking, like I think this is the time probably we could love doing collaborations or something like that, because everything is so virtual right now, right? So
yeah, totally.
I think this is the time to do stuff like that. So that is what is going on in my mind. We have the record, but there are songs that we are writing and we've been written, and so we could work with different artists, you know, even like we could work with you, we could if you agree, like, or you could have a friend who we could, you know, like connect, because right now we're all in the same field, no one's doing festivals, anything. So from that perspective, we're thinking of like doing something maybe in the coming month or at least release a single or something, a month or two.
It's something that you've seen like a whole bunch of bands doing in the last, say, 2 or 3 months, these quarantine covers. You know, I guess Metallica did Blackened at the start, right? But there's been all the SOD guys and, you know, et cetera, Anthrax doing them. So I think it's really, like, it'd be cool to see a lot more bands doing that, you know, this guy in this country, someone else in a different country.
Yeah, that'd be super cool. You know, I think that's what we think, like bands can work together and help. And that is ultimately what I would like to see from Metal for Nepal, like write some songs with people from everywhere, like with friends and bands, and then like we can put it up and the money can go there. People can just go. That would also bring more exposure. Right now we have artists who work for Metal for Nepal, tattoo artists who have just started incorporating filmmakers and vloggers who go and do their part, who are like popular filmmaker and vloggers. So it's like an open platform. In the end, I think the final thing is to do is make some metal music and like put it up there. You know, that'd be super cool.
That is why we're all here. Yeah, it's true. Yeah. It's true. Metal and it's like a brotherhood and sisterhood. So how can people that will be listening to this or watching to this, how can they contribute to Metal for Nepal? Is there a Facebook or is there a website, or maybe you can answer that, Flower?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. So we have a website. It's metalfornepal.org. You know, you can find it on every social handles like Facebook and Instagram as well. Just to add on to you know what Avishek was saying about the concept of Metal for Nepal. So we genuinely felt like what it would be for artists to kind of actually use art, you know, and music to you know, serve humanity in a way, right? Because what you know, the people who would go and check out the website, perhaps they would get what I mean by that. So we have kind of collaborated with a lot of, like, you know, musicians and all, you know, the tattoo artists, and, you know, from all across the world. And so we have like a lot of cool merch like this, you know, some really dope ass designs is out there, and they all are donated by the artist, right? So we're using their art, you know, monetizing it in the name, like in the merch. So when people are donating, there's like more than just a good feel they get back. You know, you can buy a cool t-shirt designed by, you know, artists, and we have only few limited, you know, stuff on there. So the idea is to, like, you can check out the work we're doing, of course, you know, if you feel like this is something important. You know, there is a very straightforward process to how to donate. You know, if you want to donate straight away there, if you want to buy something like t-shirts, there are a wide range of paintings and, you know, arts donated by all these crazy musicians and artists from across the world. So you can pick anything you want to buy from there, and all the, you know, proceed that you basically paid will go to the cause. So it is slightly unique in that regard than any other conventional charity settings. Here you buy things and you helping people. So if you can, please go and check out there. There's a lot of things we've done since the beginning of April. There's tons of information about the work we've done, the partner agencies we have partnered with, in the time, and also our future vision of where we would like this project to go ahead. Because like you said, Richard, in the beginning, where do you see this going? This was almost like a reactive response to what happened there, because we start seeing people not having access to food and water. We've never seen anything like that in Nepal as well. So we were just like, sure, we need to do something about it. But now seeing how this global middle community and the arts community coming together, it kind of felt like, what, Nepal had so many holes, of problems, right? So if you stick this one, there would be so many else that we could do. So the idea is to continue this in the future as well, to be able to help as many people as possible. So, look into the website, you get to see much more in-depth information. And if you see Instagram, you can see all the crazy artists who've been on board so far, and this one is for Joe as well. If anybody, in your world, like, any musicians, all we are asking them is just to send us a play along, playthrough video of one of their songs they want to do, and just that way, the idea is to kind of course, let your fan know what we're doing, and in a nutshell, it's like raise awareness about the work we're doing. So, yeah, any sort of people who wants to collaborate, be a part of it, it's an open platform. We will respect and invite everybody on board.
Avishek, how serious is it out there at the moment?
It is right now growing more than ever. It's like they started the lockdown when there was one person who had corona. So we went into lockdown for almost more than 54 days when there were like 4 or 5 cases. Then they opened up, and then they started bringing people in from the border with nothing, no rules, and the people were suffering. There's nothing the government didn't have. They just thought they could wait it out, They had all this funding that came in, and they thought they could just keep it for themselves, wait the shit out. No, now it's getting worse every day. Thousands of cases coming up every day in the city, all over the country. Yeah, the people are not dying, to be honest. I don't know what this is. This is really weird. I don't know if it's because we're used to all the dirt and all the viruses always getting sick or something. But a lot of people getting infected. The main problem is the economic crisis. It's definitely the humanitarian problem we're suffering. We're daily wage workers. We're a tourist country. There are no tourists. There's no flights. Nobody's coming in. It is killing people. It is killing businesses. The suicide rates are way higher than the corona rate. People dying. So you can see the whole game has changed. It's fear and it's depression that's coming to play. And so it's really sad. And like people who just go to work, drive a rickshaw, or just like carry 10 packets of cement every day to work, they're not getting to do that, and they're not being able to feed their little kid. I'm like, people don't live a high life here, obviously, but that is missing. The people are starting to starve, which has never happened in this country. People, and that is what we're trying to do from our side. But it's a big problem, and I don't see it going away anytime soon, to be honest.
Okay, so we can do our best on our side and try and bring your message further.
Thank you.
As a nation, Ireland, we've always been really good for rallying around. So hopefully I can get, and Joe as well, can get as many Irish metal fans on board with this and try and share it around and raise the awareness for you as well for Metal Love Nepal.
Thank you, guys. This really means a lot. And this is the most we can, this is all it takes, if Joe puts a play for you, invite us to a show, this is all we expected, just like raising awareness. And it's tough for everyone right now.
Yeah.
So it's not like the earthquake. It didn't just happen to us.
Yeah.
It happened to everyone. It's just happening on a different scale. So I think it's just what I can do is myself, what you can do, what you're going through, you know what I mean? It's just about holding each other having each other's back. So that's the only way we get out of it, like doing your small part in it. So thank you guys. This really means a lot to us.
Yeah. So
of course,
let's see if the metal community can help from our side anyway. So Avishek, thank you for joining us on the show, and regards to all your Underside brothers.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, man. Thank you,
Laura, thank you so much as well, man.
Thank you so much, Richie. It's been a pleasure. Thank you ever so much for organizing all this. Joe, it's been an absolute pleasure to know you here. I actually checked out your band as well, and it's like pretty dope. So we'll talk about it at some other point apart from this. But yeah, thank you so much, man. It's a really an honor to be here. To be able to just talk about things we do, and it's so cool. This is the first time ever we both are together in something, because it's always been non-stop brainstorm. We were like dog and cats. We fight most of the time. So it was so nice to have, I don't know how many hours was it, and an hour, 2 hours of not fighting and just being able to listen and not bark at each other is been a blessing. So thank you so much for that, Richie, for that.
You know what? Like one of the cool things about this, man, is like everybody here is geographically like in a different country, I guess. And it's so cool having people from different parts of the world all talking and trying to work on, as you guys were saying earlier on, bring a bit of happiness to people's lives in some way, shape, or form. And
that's what matters, right? That's exactly what it matters at the end of the day. So thank you, Richie, for that, man. And this sun is right in my face. I'm not trying to be any artistic or anything like that. It's just coming out to think right in my face. So
you're like illuminated flower.
Right in the process, right on, mate. All right, cool.
So thanks again, lads, for joining the show. I'll put all the links in the episode down below, and hopefully, imagine that in 2021, when all this shit is hopefully blown over, we might actually meet in the Purple Haze Hotel.
Yeah, we'll make that happen.
I hope so.
We'd make
Show
that
and all the best with the record, man.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much.
Cheers, lads.
Yeah, wait until it. Thank you.
Have a nice evening. Good night, wherever you are.
Take care. Yeah.
Ciao. Bye-bye.